Hey guys, Chris Irvin, the ketologist here, coming at you guys with a new video today. Today's topic is staying with keto. And the theme of this topic is that, trying to find ways that you can adopt this ketogenic diet as a lifestyle. So many times people start this diet and they treat it as just that. They treat it as a diet, one in which they can't really adhere to long term. Maybe it's they're trying to reach a body composition goal, or maybe they're trying to improve some health marker. And they follow it for a couple months and they go back to their old ways of eating. And one of the things we know is that the longer that you can stay in keto, the more profound effects it can have on your health. So for me, something I'm very passionate about is finding ways that you can follow ketogenic diet long term and stick to it and still have a great quality of life. I was thinking about this a lot this weekend when I was on a trip with some of my friends and I was able to still follow this keto way of life. And that's something that I might not have been able to do when I first started keto. But to be able to still have a good time with people who don't follow this diet, but still sticking to it and staying with my goals and everything, it is really helpful. So today, we're going to be speaking about what are the some things that you can do to allow you to adopt this ketogenic diet as a lifestyle. The first thing is starting out right. If you don't start out right on the ketogenic diet, obviously it's going to be really hard for you to stick to it long term. If you're doing things like not getting enough electrolytes, not eating enough fat, not rehydrating, not getting enough sleep, obviously you're not going to feel very good at the start, and that's going to make it really hard for you to stick to this diet long term. So I'm going to be coming out with another video soon that's going to be giving you my tips for keto adaptation if you're new to the diet. But starting out right is crucial. You want to make sure that you're laying that good foundation that's going to allow you to stick to this diet long term. The second one is find keto cheats. Being on a ketogenic diet, you don't want to be sitting there eating the same foods every single day. Although we all kind of love bacon and eggs, you want to be able to switch it up. So, when it comes to picking your foods, find those things that, if it's pasta, there's keto ways to have pasta with like zucchini noodles. If you're a big waffle or pancake guy, there's plenty of keto friendly recipes out there for those things. If you're missing desserts, there's a lot of great recipes out there from people like Mama Low Carb on Instagram and Keto South Tampa, and there's a lot of stuff out there. So do your homework and ask questions. We have a great community on Instagram and Facebook of people in this keto space who are really willing to share their recipes and share their almost keto hacks and things that allow them to stay with it. So if you can address those needs when you first start on keto, it's going to be really beneficial for you because you're not going to be as tempted to go out if you go to a restaurant, be as tempted to eat some of those foods when they're in front of you, when you know that you can kind of have your own keto variation of those foods. So don't restrict yourself so much that you can't have those good foods as long as they fall within the keto guidelines. The third tip for staying with keto is kind of an extension of the second one, but it's replace your carbs. And obviously we just talked about ways you can do that with recipes and everything. But another way that you can do it is with some of the great companies that are out there that have great keto-friendly products. Obviously, it's important to do your homework with this, but one of the things that I always do when I sit down with somebody who's starting keto is I say, what is the food that's going to be the limitation that's going to be preventing you from sticking with this ketogenic diet? Is it cookies? Is it brownies? Are you going to be missing ice cream? What is that thing? Is it bread? What is that one thing that is going to be the hardest thing for you to give up? And let's go ahead and find a way to replace that. There's a lot of companies out there that, like I said, that have some of these products that you guys can use. You don't want to overdo it with these products. And, you kind of get this mix up on in the keto community of people saying, that maybe you should stay away from some of these products. And, I agree that, the best ketogenic diet is going to be one that has a ton of whole foods. But for me, if having some of these low carb treats is going to be something that's going to allow somebody to stick to the diet longer than they would have been able to if they were just eating whole foods, then I think it's worth it for them to incorporate some of these foods into their diet. As long as they can do it the right way and they can control themselves and they can do it in moderation. My fourth tip for staying with keto is one that's kind of controversial, but it's don't track your calories if you don't have to. And I'll kind of elaborate on that a little bit more, but this is kind of something that I always catch a little bit of heat on. But for me, I think that if you're going to be adopting this ketogenic diet as a lifestyle, then tracking your calories and macros all the time isn't going to be something that is going to allow you to do that. If every time you sit down, you have to pull up your phone and enter that stuff in, to me, that's a diet. That's not a lifestyle. So I always try to help people find a way that they can put themselves in a position where they don't have to track their calories or their macros, but they can still stay within keto. And a lot of being able to do this centers around educating yourself and knowing what's in foods. And, of course, there's going to be times where you're going to need to look at labels and make sure that they're keto friendly. But I think that the best advice that I've ever been given and that I've ever given to people is that if you're starting this ketogenic diet, learn the foods that you can have and the foods that fall within the ketogenic guidelines, and eat those foods. And eat those foods when you're hungry. If you're doing keto right and you get yourself deep into ketosis, chances are that you should be experiencing some satiety or fullness that should prevent you from overeating. Now, of course, there are situations of people who are maybe suffering from things that kind of prevent them from being able to control themselves, whether it's impaired appetite signaling or, different disorders related to eating disorders. But I think the biggest thing for that is that if you don't have to track your calories, don't. And when you first start keto, try not doing it. There's been a lot of people where I tell them this, don't track when you first start, eat the keto-friendly foods when you're hungry, and assess yourself. See how things are going. Chances are somebody who's new to keto, if you just start, you're probably going to be losing weight. Once you start experiencing some of that satiety and you start getting a little bit of a caloric deficit, chances are you're going to continue losing weight. So if there's no reason for you to track your calories, then don't. And maybe you doing keto, it isn't for weight loss, and in some cases, maybe you don't need to be in such a caloric deficit. I do think being in a caloric deficit is beneficial for keto, but that's not for everybody. So I think the biggest thing is do some self-experimentation. Try it without tracking your calories and macros. And if you hit a plateau, then yeah, maybe it's time that, we might have to take a seat and look at what you're eating and see if there's things that we can do to improve. And that might not even be related to macros. That might be cutting out certain foods like dairy. That might be just controlling your protein, manipulating, some of your macronutrients without getting too heavy with tracking them. So I think that this is just something that, like I said, very controversial, but for me, it's what's going to allow you to adopt the ketogenic diet long term. And my fifth and final tip for staying with keto is don't freak out. There's actually two things I want to talk about with this. The first one is that a lot of people freak out if they slip up on keto. It's not the end of the world. If you're adopting this ketogenic diet as a lifestyle, then you're going to be following this ketogenic diet for the rest of your life. So the chances are you're probably going to slip up and have some carbs at some point in the rest of your life. There's a lot of times where I might go home and see family, and my mom cooks some homemade cookies, and I don't get to go home and have my mom's cooking very often. So that might be a time where maybe I indulge a little bit. But as long as you're controlling yourself and you're getting right back on the tracks after you do something like that, that's it's okay. It's okay to live that lifestyle, and that's going to be what's going to help you guys is not freaking out. I see so many times people, they get so upset and it becomes stressful, and just like anything else, once this becomes stressful, now it becomes a job and it becomes a diet, and now it's way harder for somebody to stick to. And the second one that I kind of want to mention with not freaking out is don't freak out about your ketone levels. This is one that I'm going to put another video out soon talking about this, but a lot of people get very concerned with their blood ketone meter readings or their urine strips. And the thing is, guys, is that we don't really know what the optimal range is. We don't know that having more ketones in the blood is good or bad. Using these testing methods, like I said, I'll go into this another time, but using these tested methods can be great for knowing that you're at least producing ketones, but they're not necessarily the best for knowing, how well your body's utilizing ketones. So I always tell people, don't freak out about those numbers. The best thing that you can probably do is just listen to your body and see, do you have energy? Are you having reduced cravings? How is your sleep? How are these different things? And that's going to be a better indicator for you rather than sitting there and trying to read these blood meters. So those are my 5 tips for staying with keto, guys. Like I said, the goal is always to try to find a way that you can adopt this diet long term. The truth is, guys, diets suck and nobody wants to follow a diet. So the goal is to make it so you can adopt this ketogenic diet and it can fit within your life, and it's not something that you have to struggle with. It's not something that has to be super restrictive, and it's just something that you can enjoy doing and you can still live a great life. And this is going to be kind of a common theme that I'm going to talk about with a lot of my videos. I really appreciate you guys checking out the vlog today. I'm going to be putting out a lot more on my YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe so you guys can see what I'm putting up next. And if you guys have anything that you guys want, any topics you guys want me to cover, any questions, feel free to comment them. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram. My email is theketologist@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me and I'll try to answer your questions. And, if there's any common themes of topics that you guys want me to talk about, I'll make sure to make some videos for that. So thanks, guys.